Hello, friends, and welcome back to the Optimal Championship League. We are here with, I believe, a week 4 matchup between Always
Nope,
Slept On and OE Infinity. Alls, I think
this
you got
is
a
week
correction from
3.
here. Week 3?
This
Okay.
Yeah, we have already had a week 4 match. Happened last night. OE Infinity did knock off Dynasty Chaos Emerald in stunning 2-0 fashion, courtesy largely of Robin in the bot lane and OEI Red in the jungle. But no, this is a rescheduled week 3 match, which is why the power rankings haven't come out quite yet. We know you folks are always waiting for those.
Yeah, apologies. I got my schedules all kind of mixed up. But now that Meta Shift has ended and I'm not casting, another 5 days out of the week, alls, I'm happy to finally get back on track with Optimal Esports and make sure that I have everything kind of tamped down in regards to what the schedule is like. So, week 3 matchup here in the middle of week 4. OEI going to be on red side for this draft with ASO on blue. And I know you have a little bit of a story between these two teams in regards to where they're sitting in terms of stats.
Yeah, mostly for Always Slept On, who Portiers are not having a very good season. Outside of Vortex Ninja, the ADC for Always Slept On, this team has had an absolutely miserable time. In fact, the 4 members taking the rest of the roster are the top 4 deaths in OCL over the first 2 weeks, which is utterly miserable for this team and contributes heavily to why they are at the bottom of the rankings.
Yeah, that is unfortunate for sure. We'll see whether or not Always Slept On will be able to develop and kind of cut back against those rougher instincts that they have in regards to how they're setting up for fights and how they're just playing the laning phase out. Over aggression certainly can be something that OEI can capitalize on, given the fact that they have their own eye towards some amount of scaling. I think Robin in particular is someone who likes to play a little bit further back as an ADC, and that means that ASO could play right into these traps set up by Red Squad if they are not careful in order to work towards ASO finally being able to pick up some games again. I think that it's best that we look towards this draft phase that is underway. Nocturne and Ezreal banned out so far by OE Infinity, while Always Slept On have knocked away the Ornn and Talon.
Yeah, not exactly surprising bans in general, although the Talon does seem to be a bit more of a targeted ban here. The Rek'Sai coming out as well. This is something that OEI mentioned to me earlier today that they really love playing, that they think is top tier, so they don't want it picked away Blue 1. Instead, Always Left On is going to pick up the Ash to start us off.
I like the Ash quite a bit, and I think that OEI immediately hovering the Rel is kind of concerning, actually. This is one of the roughest matchups for this champion, as if you miss your crash down and Ash has got those fancy feet, you are going to be taking punishing fire all the way back to your side of the lane, but they will go aggressive, and not only will they grab the Rel, they're also getting themselves the Lucian.
Yeah, this is one of those lanes that is going to be feast or famine. The Rel, obviously, as you said, does struggle if they miss, but if they miss, if the Rel hits and Lucian is able to follow up, they will be able to cut through that Ash with ease. So Vortex Ninja and Dog Pound General are going to have to be very, very careful in this bot lane.
And I like this Taric as a response to the Rel because Rel is so immobile, and also Ash is going to be adding on to the slowdown that she inherently has after crashing and using the W. Taric is going to be able to free fire with those Qs to keep the lane healthy, and furthermore, it's going to be repeated stuns all the while as he uses his passive to reduce the cooldown on his abilities. Galio as well is a very defensive pick for ASO, and right now, while they are lacking damage, I think that this could be the kind of composition that allows for them to stay stable in the early game and scale up into monsters.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a team comp that has plenty of power here. I am a little bit concerned that ASO is lacking in damage to cut through something like a Rel Swain combo right now. So we'll have to see what they bring out for the jungle and top lane, if they can kind of bring that back to sanity here.
Yep, and the Swain being a pick that will punish some of these shorter range champions on ASO's side is a great call by OEI, but I think they're going to need a little bit more oomph packed in the top lane, particularly in the form of scaling, and I'm kind of surprised that they are going to be banning the Gwen on red side, actually, because that is the case. Perhaps they're actually looking to R4 a Gwen here or something like that and keep counterpick for the jungle role.
Yeah, I'd be okay with a jungle counter pick right now. I don't think it's absolutely the most optimal choice. I think that Red has shown that they are capable of playing into negative matchups okay. But if that's the choice they make, it's perfectly fine here. We haven't seen a whole lot of positive out of Sir Derp in the top lane for ASO. Seems like a relatively easy matchup for Koi to be alive.
Yeah, for sure. And I do think that the Amumu ban here will allow for OE Infinity to play a more poke oriented style without too much worry about grouping up and unfortunately falling under the wrath of a Galio engage with an Amumu following through with extra CC off of a Curse of the Sad Mummy. But it is an interesting split that they're knocking out not only that, but also the Gwen, especially given the fact that we're already seeing the support picked for ASO. I don't think a Mumu jungle is as good as a Mumu support is right now, and it hasn't been for a while, but they still find that to be a threat in that role, so they're going to take it away. Jack's Malphite ban on ASO's side. Also, pretty compelling. I think that it's going to really help with the engage that OEI is looking for, but because the Malphite is denied, they're going to go for a Jarvan as their engager, and now that premium being put towards that top side in terms of scaling becomes ever more pertinent for Red Team.
Yeah, absolutely. I would have almost wanted OEI to bait Always Slept On into picking the Amumu because it would have made it next to impossible for ASO to have enough damage to really cut through this OEI lineup. So I think that's a bit of a potential misplay. Yes, it does stack a lot of lockdown, but I think they would have been able to cut through it just fine, especially with Illusion here. But as it is, the J4 will be facing off against Vi in the hands of Red Hawk here for ASO. I think this is a winning matchup for Red, who has just looked better than a lot of the other junglers in the league.
Yeah, Red has been looking good, and I think that that will continue here with them having a lot of priority. Obviously, the counter gank potential from Red Hawk versus Red is going to allow for this Vi to make some big plays if OEI pick the wrong fights to take early. But the fact of the matter is that's going to require a lot of jungle tracking and bringing more knowledge checks to the table versus a team that has frankly been struggling during the early part of the OCL season. Makes a lot of sense to me. Poppy also going to be grabbed here. This is putting a lot of weight onto the Swain in particular to become a late game threat. And I am a little bit worried about OEI over indexing, but they certainly have great initiation to cut back against Always Slept On. And in particular, what I like about the way that they've built their composition is that even after Cosmic Radiance is fired off, OEI is going to remain tanky. It's going to be hard to use those crucial 2.5 seconds to really blow up Red Squad. And then you can continue to go for re engages off of either Never Moves or Rail mounting back up, crashing back down. Poppy also can add to this whole chase potential by just running people over with her W into E. I think it's a great call, but it is a matter of making sure that these are sustained fights that you actually have the stats to take, and that requires really solid laning from OEI. Always Slept On the other hand, is a little bit more balanced in terms of their damage distribution. Now that they have the Camille in the top lane, this is a relatively decent anti-tank champion, and I do think that Poppy is one of her harder matchups, but Sir Derp can still make the most out of this lane, start becoming a split pushing threat. And hopefully, by splitting OEI, they're going to be able to divide and conquer, right? Because if you aren't bringing Swain or Lucian to a fight, you are not having the damage to control someone pushing through a side.
Yeah, that's very fair. I do still worry that right now the impetus is heavily on Camille to be hard carrying these fights. While you have the Ashe to fire through in the back line, a lot of the damage here is still wrapped up in that top side. I wish we could have seen something a little bit more aggressive, a little bit more damage focused from King of Darken. Yes, they do have far and away the highest deaths of any player in OCL this season, but you can still pick a real mage and still help your team to have a well balanced damage profile here.
Yep, for sure. I think that if OEI are able to win this just by the might of their team fighting and, like I said, stabilizing that early game to allow for the Jarvan to run rampant, this could be a pretty easy series for them to just clean up. However, ASO, I don't think have a bad draft by any stretch of the imagination. In fact, I think that they have a lot of means by which to create dramatic engages that cause the fight to be over as soon as they start, especially if they have Tarek there as a stabilizing force. So, with the pick potential that Ash brings to the table, with Vi following up, I really do hope that we see something out of this team that, like I said before, has been struggling to find those highlight moments so far.
Yeah, I would love to see a big Terricle come out and turn this game around for this ASO team. anything is possible. This is OCL. We've seen all of the crazy.
Yeah.
But this is a team that has consistently struggled. And not only have they struggled this season, they also showed a few of these weak points last season as well. And although the roster has changed a bit, I do wonder if there's still a bit that they need to figure out on the control and teamwork side before they really get to the point of
Mhm.
being relevant and being a team that can push deep.
Yeah, for sure. I also love the fact you're talking about Tarek turning fights around. That's my favorite version of the League of Legends hokey pokey, don't you know? Then the Vi goes in and the Tarek ult comes out. You run on in and you smack them all about.
Oh, I've never heard that, and I wish I hadn't. Oh
Uh,
boy,
I mean,
that
I hope
is.
that ASO can in fact make that game plan happen, though. I think it's within their wheelhouse. But like I said before, OEI has a pedigree. They're freaking named after the league, or vice versa, which may be even more terrifying if that's the case. And so, always slept on definitely have a very tough test ahead of them, especially in moving into the broadcasted realm. So, I think it's best. I mean, not Tiger. Sorry, Alls. I missed casting with Tiger. But yeah, I think it's probably best
I
if
know
we
I'm
throw it over
second
to a
tier in
quick
your
break,
heart.
my man.
It's okay.
Yeah,
It's
and
okay.
we will be back shortly. friends, and welcome back to the OCL for game number 1 of this week 3 matchup here in week number 4. Always slept on facing off against OE Infinity for game number 1. Because you got a Rel, because you got a Swain, it looks like OE Infinity are going to use this opportunity to go for some kind of cheesy shenanigans. They're moving S5 through the bot lane.
Yeah, they're not going to find anything, though. With this ward in the Tri-Brush, Always Slept On will have plenty of knowledge that this is going on, so they'll be able to get out of dodge. Although, it looks like Dogpound General taking a bit of a while to get out. So, OEI will have control over this red buff, but they will be seen. So that will be a trade and likely a vertical jungle here in Nyarko. Which of these teams do you think that benefits in the early game?
I think it probably benefits OE Infinity. You want maximal control over the bot lane. Vortex Ninja and Dogpound General are going to be tough nuts to crack because of their zoning potential, unless Social System and Robin get brilliant engages. And you know what makes that easier? Having OEI Red down there, who will be able to help immensely with the flag and drag. So having control on this side makes a lot of sense for me. Vi, I think, is going to have a hard time doing anything versus Koi, who's probably going to be pushed into the tower anyway.
Yeah, we'll have to see. Although, to be fair, Risheen Camille is fairly vulnerable, so it's entirely possible that Sir Derp could have a rough time in this top side. Poppy does put out a surprising amount of damage, levels 1 to 3.
That's definitely true, but also Camille is a champion that could get right out of dodge, as you and I are both favorite of saying whenever they have their hook shot available. And I imagine that Koi may not necessarily always be on top of getting the hooks out. We do have King of Darkin in a little bit of trouble, but they have their taunt available. So not even a flash burn. And honestly, Red going off of their clear path that early is a bit awkward, because now I don't really know if they're ever going to be able to touch those Krugs on the enemy side.
No, but it does let them move in and counteract Red Hawk a little bit earlier, so they won't be able to take the Krugs of Red either. So it'll be a Krug trade here in Nyarko. Everybody gives rock to their best friend.
I mean, Poseidon's Gabe is actually trying to just position pretty aggressively, maybe bait King of Darkin back in for another trade. It looks like for the time being, Red is a little bit more concerned about their own fights in enemy territory. Now, Poseidon's Gabe is going low, but is Red Hawk as well. Red will be able to fully zone them off of blue buff, and not only that, but they flash under the tower and pick up first blood. Camille is pincering.
Yeah, Camille more than likely to pick up the kill eventually here. The hookshot will not quite land. Can Red get the execute? I'm going to say no. It's not been 10 seconds, Nyarko. That's going to go over to Red Hawk.
I think it's probably best that it goes over to Red Hawk versus Sir Derp, so it makes a lot of sense.
Oh,
that
absolutely.
They're still going to make a beeline towards the enemy towers. It's just kind of unfortunate that the Jarvan is a bit off-tempo, even after picking up that kill. I don't really know if it's enough, because it was a trade for their wonky pathing.
However, Red was out of base before the kill went through. So that 300 gold is going to just sit in the Vi's pocket here in Nyarko. That means that OEI Red will have slightly more combat stats and will be able to clear a little bit more efficiently as they move through the jungle here over the next couple of minutes.
It's only Boots versus Double Sword, and this kind of speaks to what I was talking about regarding the Defiance game plan in this early game, though, Aulz. I don't really think that they have to be the point man. They really also don't want to. What they want to do is just see where Red is going and then go in after the Jarvan's already been softened up. So hopefully the fact that Red Hawk had an unfortunate timing of receiving that kill won't hurt them too much. I still want to see some early game action from both of these junglers.
Yeah, well, we've seen plenty of that to start with. All the flashes down, all the aggression, all the time here for both of the Reds in the jungle here. Feels like we should be making some communism jokes.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like the communism jokes are just a little bit passe right now. I feel that it takes specific champions for me to make communism jokes, like Ornn, who's big and red and has a hammer and probably can make a sickle if he so desired. I feel like those are very, very funny. Here, there's not really much in the way of a communist person. Actually, who is the most communist in
Out of these teams? Ooh.
Yeah.
That's tough. Poseidon is getting in a little bit of trouble, but Red is here.
Away. Yeah,
actually,
Red...
King of Darkin might be in the most trouble here. Down to under 150 health.
Yeah, still has the flash available, and I don't think that red without flash is going to be able to follow them under the tower, though. So once again, it's a little bit of a stable state there in the mid lane. Poseidon is Gabe using that summoner spell. It might make it a little bit easier for ASO to bully them, but right now it's just red once again trying to hunt down Red Hawk, and they're winning the duel inside of this bush. Unfortunately, Galio was nowhere near. Poseidon's Gabe is first mover advantage. Now we do see a very deep push on the bot side, and this is the danger of trying to play Rel versus Terrace like I was talking about. Vortex Ninja is able to kite that out with their flash. They get the safety. Dogtown General is actually going to make that a 2-0 so far. Red is desperately trying to find another kill, but a great dazzle alongside King of Darkin coming down means that it might be hard to find this Eric, who moves out with only about 100 health. Now King of Darkin's going back in for the re-engage. Besides this, Gabe is able to use the Demonic Ascension to finally kill this Eric, but Vortex Ninja is an alcove gamer. King of Darkin is continuing to zone, and now they get the knockup. Now they're looking for the taunt, but Poseidon is Gabe will snipe Vortex Ninja, who walked a little bit too far up. They will trade back, though, against the Galio.
Yeah, so that's an extended 4-for-3 there, which on paper is super great for ASO. However, I'm a little bit concerned with how diffused the kills are. I mean, the same thing can be said for OEI. The kills are on the J4 and on the Swain. You're happy with them on the Swain, less so on the J4. But you've got 1 kill on the Vi, 1 kill on the Ashe, 1 kill on the Taric, and 2 kills on the Galio, who is going to be a little bit more of a frontliner here. It's a little bit unfortunate that more of those didn't go directly into Vortex Ninja's pocket.
I have a lot of conspiracy theories about Taric actually being the best champion to get an early kill on, because it allows you to either accelerate towards a Rod of Ages, which is a little bit more difficult for the champion to pick up as a support, or it just allows you to which is also incredibly important to their ability to create substantial pressure within the lane. So I'm not too mad about the fact that they pick up one of those. Vortex Ninja, I think, was actually the major weak point of what we slept on during that fight. There was literally no reason for them to walk up to the Swain. They just gave over another free kill. And frankly, if they were able to turn that from a 4-for-3 into a 4-for-2, I think ASO would be easily winning this early game. That being said, the way that everybody died still allowed for OE Infinity to pick up that first dragon, and now they are back on the gas, trying to kill King of Darkin in revenge. Shutdown goes over to the Jarvan.
And impressive for King of Darkin, being the deathiest member of the Optimal Championship League, to have waited 7.5 minutes before dying for the first time. However, their death may have consigned Red Hawk to a 3rd death this game, as Red has just lived in this blue side jungle.
Yep, if you want to prove you're just a better player, you play like this Jarvan currently is. Feels like Red Hawk has not had the space to breathe, and while the CS is surprisingly close, fact of the matter is nobody seems to tamp down on the ability for the Jarvan to just stride confidently to the enemy jungle without vision, mind you, because all these lanes are tracking so well. And because that's the case, it's more kills over to OE Infinity, and it could even lead to another huge play as Lucian's able to get to the bush. Robin is safe for the time being, and Red is on the flank. Social System trying to control the pace of this fight. Here comes the Galio, but it's too late to save the Ashe. The taunt goes on to Social System, but the Rel's able to back off, as is Red. And now with Poseidon is Gabe also pathing down using that teleport. King of Darkin could be in trouble. They're slowed. Social System can't get the knockup though.
No, but this is an absolutely enormous J4, already 5-2-2, and it looks like OEI Red is going on the warpath here. The serrated Dirk early, specking all the way into damage. This is a J4 that wants to be the leading Vortex Ninja.
Yep, that's an early Eclipse, and Red is going to be melting any of these members that have not yet crafted over to their first item, which is literally everybody on ASO's side. That is something to watch out for. They are basically the entirety of OEI right now, and look at the sheer presence that the rest of the team is actually getting from themselves, even without the Jarvan there. Koi is able to single-handedly zone off Red Hawk and Sir Derp from this Shelly, and now Red is going to be up here to make this a true 2v2 fight. Great denial of the dash from Koi means Sir Derp has nowhere to go. They're going to have to try to Hextech ultimatum, but the Poppy picks up the kill regardless.
Yeah, and Koi did a great job of holding down the lane early. Obviously, we expect the Poppy to be aggressive pre-Sheen, but even after the Sheen, we haven't seen Sir Derp being able to harass or push out Koi here, who's been doing a great job making sure that top lane is just safe enough that Red doesn't have to waste any time up there. And that's all you have to do when you're this weak side top laner, is not be a problem or a weak point for your team.
And now they're up a kill. They've been up CS. It doesn't feel like they're the weak side at all. Alls. It doesn't matter that the Jarvan isn't going up there. They are feeling quite strong as long as OE Infinity continues their momentum. I think that they're pretty happy with how this game is going to play out. This is a gold lead that will be hard for ASO to contest, especially when it comes to the team fighting prowess of champions like Poseidon is Gabe on the Swain.
And this is a gold lead, Nyarko, that hasn't only come from kills. The kill score is 5-8. If you just look at the top banner, this is a close game. But there's a 20 CS lead in top side, a 20 CS lead in the mid lane, and a close to 15 CS lead in the bot lane as well. These OEI laners are just playing better in the laning phase, and that's giving their team an advantage. It's going to be critical when we get out of lane phase and into some real fights.
Yeah, and this is one of those dynamics with teams that are very, very good facing off against teams that are kind of middle of the pack or lower down on the leaderboards, where it feels like the actual play-by-play that I'm doing doesn't seem to be translating into the massive leads that you're now witnessing build on that gold department. OE Infinity just simply know how to play when the camera isn't on them, when it isn't highlight moments. They are managing waves, they are grabbing CS, and they are harassing beautifully, and that is all turning into more and more in the wave advantages for them.
Yeah, there's a lot of pressure right now on King of Darken, especially holding the most gold, or the most kill gold for this ASO team to really put the foot down. OEI Red has put a lot of pressure all across the map, but it's not been enough. Red Hawk again caught out. Red has just been electric in the jungle here as Social System holds off the rest of this bot lane on their own. Nyarko, I think we're just seeing a jungle diff.
Yeah, credit to Social System there, knowing that they don't have to use their abilities on OE Infinity's jungler. Rather, they just make sure that Dogtown General and Vortex Ninja could do nothing to help the Vi in that situation. And now, further disruption, further distraction means that that's a very clean Shelly charge. Gold flowing over to the right people. OE Infinity well set up now to get themselves a second dragon and even more of a death grip over this game.
Yeah, and if you're looking at that from a kill point of view, yeah, the Cosmic Radiance kept both Vortex Ninja and Dogpound General alive in a situation where they should have been very, very dead. That's great. But Cosmic Radiance has a 160-second cooldown at this point. That is nearly 3 minutes, Nyarko, where this bot lane is going to be incredibly vulnerable. And with how mobile and active Red has been on the map, I would not be surprised if we saw them back in this bot lane, continuing to harass this Ashteric pair, making their life miserable, taking advantage of what that dive gave this bot lane.
For sure. I also want to know that Dogpound General is building and indexing their runes in such a way that they're not actually super tanky, and that concern in the way that Always Slept On need to play out team fights. I think that this is a champion that needs to absorb a lot more abuse. And remember, because Cosmic Radiance has a 2.5-second channel time, they often will die before they actually have the chance to pop this ability on themselves and give the invincibility necessary to stabilize during team fights. The fact that they went Glacial, the fact that they went CDR boots is very concerning to me.
Yeah, we'll have to see if they index a little bit more aggressively into tank stats, as Koi is just winning this fight hand over fist. And with Red here, that's another kill. 6, 2, and 4 is this J4 now on a rampage as the score crests 10 kills to 5.
Dogpound General and Vortex Ninja are going to try to save a ward inside of that bush. That tri-bush will continue to have vision inside of it. But honestly, Red at this point doesn't need to do a whole lot else. They can just sit back and farm for the rest of this laning phase. They have won this game for OEI so far, but yet they will still come in to try to save Poseidon in his game. Here's the flag and drag. Here's the Cataclysm. Down goes the Vi. Down goes the Galio. And down goes ASO's percentile chance of trying to come back in this game.
Yeah, it feels like the odds are heavily against them here. We need some ESPN KPI numbers to be looking at, Nyarko. But 7, 2, and 5, 3, 1, and 5 on the Swain, who is already sitting at 30 stacks of Ravenous Flock. That Swain is going to be massive. It's going to be impossible to kill in teamfights, especially if it's only the Camille who can really cut through them here.
Yep. And the death grip that OE Infinity have over both rivers means that every single neutral objective is theirs for the taking. I wouldn't be surprised to see them just shift in about a minute over to grab that second Shelly and then use that as a distraction for them to get up to soul point on speed run time.
Yeah, they are moving rapidly on that here, and it will be a Cloud Drake, which everyone thinks, that's not so great. It gives you a little bit of movement speed, lets you rotate between lanes, and it gives you a little bit of movement speed after a ultimate is used. Okay, sure, that's a little weak. Unless you're Swain.
Or
Unless you're
Rel.
Lucian. Unless you're Rel. Unless your entire comp, or your entire champion is built around repositioning yourself after ulting, it's weak. But this is an OEI team that is purpose-built almost for Cloud Soul, and they are doing a great job of containing it here.
Yep, and Poseidon is game on just a little bit of a roam. He's going to force Flash out a Red Hawk for literally just standing inside of the river. That is the goal between these two teams right now. Robin is desperately trying to get out of dodge. Great crash down into a teleport means the OE Infinity can actually turn this fight around. Cosmic Radiance is used, and while the Dazzle will stun up Social System and Poseidon is game, they still have to bring someone into this lane in order to make sure this tower isn't taken in an instant, and this is all happening a minute and a half before Dragon. Perfect time for Red Squad to now rotate back up into this river and get themselves even more vision.
Yeah, and all 5 members of this blue squad are down on this bot side of the map, look at where Red and Koi are. They're about to take this second Rift Herald. They're about to break even more of this map open with objective control for this OEI squad. And after that, the backs are mistimed. Robin and Social System are going to be able to take this turret uncontested here, Nyarko. It just feels like they're macroing so much better than ASO at this point.
And Vortex, Ninja, and Dogtown General burning their ultimates right there means that there was no way for them to dig back into the lane. Dogtown General in particular losing that Cosmic Radiance before a core objective take yet again means that they are going to have to just be at the mercy of OE Infinity. That being said, I think Poseidon is Gabe is finally Poseidon is gone. That was terrible. I thought I could make something rhyme there.
Yeah, we'll think about that one. We'll get back to it. It'll come to us.
Poseidon is grave. Oh my god, I am so good at this all.
Ooh. That one's pretty good.
Yeah.
I do like Poseidon is grade as well. As in,
true.
the screen is black and white. By the way, King of Darken is no longer allowed to exist. OEI Red can just kind of wander around here and pick up kills as they like. With the Black Cleaver, with the Eclipse, Red
they aren't even going to be able to kill Red.
Dead.
Enchanted Crystal Arrow is not enough. They're going to be able to recover from the stun in time. 3 members here. They're immediately going to flag and drag away. And a beautiful Keeper's Verdict onto 3. Isolates Vortex Ninja as well. OE Infinity are smurfing on ASO.
Looking infinitely better than Always Slept On at the moment as they take this Drake on cooldown. We are looking at a 22.5 minutes Cloud Soul Nyarko. That is lightning fast for a team like this, and feels great for them.
Yeah, lightning fast to get lightning fast. I mean, OE Infinity have gotten everything that they need right now to just roll through this mid game. Up 8,000 gold means that they're able to kind of raw dog the Baron Nash or wherever they so desire. The fight in turn is brilliant for them, and while it isn't the fastest take in the world, it doesn't matter. If anything, they might actually just want the 5v5, even if they are softened up by the big purple worm, because that's how far ahead they are right now. Rift Herald didn't even need to be dropped as that distraction. Now they're going to be able to use it to just crash into this tier 3 tower. If they could grab an inhibitor here, this is ASO relegated to the base for the rest of the game.
Yeah, the inhibitor doesn't quite fall, but it's still so much pressure onto this squad. They really don't have any control over the map at the moment. They're just fully at the mercy of OEI. Koi, Social System, free to roam about. They're so tanky. The Rel may not have a completed item, but she just feels untouchable at the moment.
And this is one of those points in the game where a lot of people would say, hey, don't actually take the inhibitor. It's free gold for ASO. I disagree. I think that they're so far behind right now that by forcing someone to wave clear, given the fact that wave clear isn't actually very good for their team, it means that OE Infinity are able to split the map up and make things even more fragmented in regards to any macro call they so desire. They could easily start deathballing either top or bot to take the tier 2s down as well. And from that point on, OE Infinity are always going to be outstripped the super minion gold that is being handed over to ASO.
And speaking of gold, Nyarko, let's take a look at those creep scores because they tell a story right now. Not just a story, but a novel of this game. Koi, the tank, outstripping the Camille, the split pusher, by 50 CS. J4, up more than 40 CS. The Swain up 50 CS. The only lane that is not up CS is the one member of ASO that has been their high performer throughout the year, of Vortex Ninja. You cannot index entirely into an.
Yeah,
It's just
it's
not
unfortunate.
possible.
And
So for this ASO team, they really need to get a little bit better at giving themselves that gold throughout the game so that they don't end up with a 9,000 gold deficit at 20 minutes.
yeah, for sure. And now OE Infinity have gotten that first dibs over the Baron Nashor that I was talking about. No vision available for ASO, but they are suspicious at the very least that this is happening. They're rallying their forces. They're trying to push into the river. Here comes the teleport as well. Koi gets the knock on a Sir Derp, and I think that Camille is going to be the first one to fall. They're stuck in their own Hextech ultimatum. Great Galio ult, though, will eventually take down the Poppy. Poseidon is Gabe, will kill Sir Derp, though, and unfortunately, Cosmic Radiance isn't buying enough time for Redhawk to chase down the dying Robin, who manages to stabilize and stay at the back of this fight. Now, Social System crashes down on top of Dog Pound General, who will eventually die to Red with the double kill. King of Darkin also unable to hold on. Vortex Ninja sent to run him, but they are alone. Ash against the world. OE Infinity, 21 minutes in, are looking for their first ace of the game.
They get it in style with the slam, Nyarko. I don't think Poseidon is Gabe went under 2,000 health there. The Swain, Giga Tanky, 2.5 items at this point, is just such a dominant feature of this front line. Sure, they took out Koi. Sure, they took out Social System. Sure, they nearly took out Robin. But if you can't kill this Swain, if you can't kill this J4, you will never win the game. And right now, OEI has all the cards.
Red's too strong. This is the end of the game. They needed to wait for the full 5 and hopefully defend the Nexus turrets, but now with Sir Derp and Redhawk dead yet again, with a wave behind them, OE Infinity can just push onto the Nexus turrets, and where's the damage now?
It looks like they are going to pull out. They are going to look for that Baron. But you're right. They could have absolutely ended the game if they so chose there. This OEI squad just looks so powerful. They look so confident. They look so in control. Those mistakes from the early game are nowhere to be seen, Nyarko.
And yeah, Baron being taken here probably just means that they deathball it down mid and end the game. So I'm a little bit hasty on calling this game as fully over in the literal sense, but this game has been over, figuratively speaking, all since probably the 10-minute mark.
Yeah, there's a 13,500 gold lead. There's a 13 kill lead. The Always Slept On squad has not taken a single objective this game, whether that be a turret, a Baron, a Dragon, a Rift Herald. They have just been choked out methodically. And the small mistakes that OEI has made have been in service of such major wins that it doesn't feel like a real loss. That being said, Koi is a little bit ahead of the rest of the team. They are tanky, but maybe not this tanky.
Yeah, they're tanky enough. Red Hawk's just gonna die. Red does have to preemptively use that Cataclysm, so it's gonna be up to Robin to soften up the team now. But here comes the Magnet Storm, landing beautifully onto the backline. Vortex Ninja uses the Cosmic Radiance to be able to flash to safety, but I don't think that there's enough damage here for the Ashe anymore. Even with Hextech Ultimatum, Sir Derp can do nothing. Koi just runs them down. It is yet again an ace for OE Infinity. A beautiful end to a way to end this game number 1.
Yeah, a clean ace in a 4v5 is not what you want to see. Unfortunate death there for OEI Red to cap off the game, but still ending 14-3-12, Nyarko. OEI Red, absolutely the player of this game, and if it continues, the player of the series without a doubt.
Yeah, I don't really know what to say, Aulz, besides that was unfortunately the ASO I feared we were going to see tonight. I really hoped that we'd be able to get some sort of redemption arc from them, but unfortunately, this was a game that it would be very, very hard to redevelop from in the midst of a series. What I mean by that is that there wasn't necessarily a crucial issue. It was just that they were occasionally put into awkward macro situations that they didn't know how to answer back against. And the problem is, how do you address the infinitude of weird situations that OE Infinity could put you on in game number 2 that are slightly different enough from what happened here that they get clapped in a whole new way?
You really can't. ASO just looked like they were outplayed by the better team here. I think at this point, if you're ASO, you're playing for pride. You have lost this series in all but name. What you have to do is you have to make sure that it doesn't look as dominant as this. Prove to the viewers and to yourself that with just a little bit of time, with just a little bit of work, you can come out at the end of this season with a respectable score, with a respectable look for yourself.
All right. Well, I think it's probably best also if we throw it over to a quick break. Let's see if ASO can in fact recover. I would love to have my expectations further defied here for the second game, but it's going to require some big shifts on their front. OEI just need to keep trucking along. Hopefully, we could see them get some of the same magic that they had here in game number 2 because I was wowed by them, frankly, Alls.
Yeah, that was a dominant game. Hopefully for them, hopefully it'll look that good in game 2. And for Always Left On, hopefully that magic is going to be able to be rubbed away. But we shall see when we enter game 2 here in just a few minutes. We'll be right back, folks.